This review won't contain major spoilers for Shin Kamen since I don't know when a home release is coming, but I will talk about the characters and themes in as much detail as I can, so be prepared for that. Shin Kamen Rider is a 2023 film that celebrates the original Kamen Rider series' 50th anniversary with a reimagining by one of the minds behind Evangelion, Shin Godzilla, and Shin Ultraman, Hideaki Anno. This is the only one out of Anno's Shin films so far to not have Shinji Higuchi for director or special effects help. It's just Anno as the head creative for this project, and that definitely gives the film its own unique identity compared to the other films in this loosely tied Shin Japan World Hero series of films. Now, this wasn't the first time Kamen Rider's 70s roots were rebooted for modern audiences, as in 2005 and 2007 we had the movies The First and the Next, and they weren't that good. Apparently, one of the film's staff members said they don't want the rider kick to feel special in the film, and that's kind of the whole story about these films. They aren't that special outside of the hit and miss suit design and a cool bike chase in the first, and a neat subplot with Hongo being a teacher in the next. These are very dramatic films, but not in a gripping way like in Cougar 5's, just in a very confusing way, which isn't helped by the poor color grading in both films. I really want to like these two more, but I think they're best left as oddities of the early superhero boom of the 2000s, where a lot of the lackluster films of the boom tried to age up the franchises by just making a boring story. Also, for being supposedly inspired by the Kamen Rider manga, I didn't find much connection between these films and the manga. The closest I got was V3's backstory in the next being like Ichimonji's manga backstory, but even then you just gave it to another character because they wrote Ichimonji like the blandest, heisei, edgy rival writer known to man. Anyway, those movies, not great, but Shin Kamen Rider, cinema. Loved it a lot. Everything, from the way the effects are conceptualized to little story beats, scream love for the original Kamen Rider series so much, while giving the classic story its unique Hideaki Anno flair, arguably even more so than in Shin Ultraman. There's a lot of detailed dialogue in this movie explaining the concepts and mechanics of the world, but I always found it interesting and never took away from the more fantastical bits, as sometimes over-explaining things could hurt the fun in the story. But here, it just adds extra thematic weight and context to it, especially when the augment monsters talk about their motivations, which ties into one of the major themes of the movie, happiness. There's a lot of talk in this movie about happiness, of the augments often declaring to find the most inhumane things to be what makes them the most happy, which opposes our main protagonist's ideals of just doing the right thing to make yourself happy no matter the risk. Takeshi Hongo's kindness in this film is often considered his greatest weakness, yet his greatest strength by other characters, as he keeps hoping and fighting for a better tomorrow despite everything. I especially love the beginning of the movie where we see his horrified reaction to his amazing powers and how it can possibly destroy the very things he wants to protect, if not for his heart. Rurikyo's probably the most different character in this film compared to the manga or original series. It's very clearly inspired by Rei from Evangelion, but she's still a fun take on the emotionless female character that helps the protagonist, and her scenes bonding with Hongo are freaking adorable. As for Kamen Rider number 2, Ichimonji, this take on the character is probably my favorite version of him, my favorite character in the movie, and one of my favorite writers of all time now. He has so much charisma and pathos, some of which I can't get into because of spoilers, but believe me, he and Hongo make for great double writers in this movie. Oddly, what I feel is the most divisive part of Shin Kamen Rider is the action and special effects. Originally, Anno wanted to use completely practical effects in fights for the movie, but during production, he wasn't satisfied with how those fights looked, so he and the crew added more CGI to the film. The CGI here isn't as well done as Shin Godzilla or Shin Ultraman, probably because of the lack of Higuchi and his team, but what it doesn't have in polish, it makes up for tenfold in creativity and choreography, which is pretty accurate to Tokusatsu in general. Even with this shift, I think Anno succeeded at his mission to capture the soul of these productions, just not in the way he initially thought. I will admit though, the film is a bit dimly lit in certain spots, so I understand that critique. Overall, yeah, that was a freaking great Kamen Rider movie. It has all the strong themes of inner humanity and kick-ass action you could want. I'm a huge fan of this franchise, and I've been really excited for this flick for the 2 years it's been in production, and I'm so glad I finally got to see it in a theater and love it. I hope my non-American and Japanese viewers, or anyone who missed a theatrical run, will be able to see it soon on home video, because it's probably going to be my favorite film of 2023, and I just saw Across the Spider-Verse, so you know I'm dead serious about that. I didn't even get to analyze the amazing final act and ending that made me want to scream my love for this franchise, but again, I want to keep things spoiler free for now. So yeah, Shin Kamen Rider was Kino and gets a high recommendation from me.